Hello, I'm Adi Tantimedh. I'm the writer of the Ravi PI trilogy, and I'm speaking to Bob Andelman on the Mr. Media podcast.
To me, the arrival of a new Ravi PI novel by Adi Tantimedh is like being handed a fresh-baked soft pretzel and a cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper. I'm going to try and consume it slowly, savoring every bite and every sip. But in the end, I always give in to the impulse of zooming through because it's just so damn good. Of course, when it's gone, I'm left wanting another, and another. And with the third book in the series, Her Fugitive Heart, Tantimedh has such a commanding grip on what makes his characters swing through murder, intrigue, a secret kinky sex club, deception, lies, and, yes, marriage, that this installment is as good as the first two combined. The real question, is this the end of Ravi's adventures, or is it just the beginning? Joining me today, for the third time, is the creator and author of the series, Adi Tantimedh. Welcome back to Mr. Media.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. You know how much I love Ravi and his adventures. We actually communicate in between books, I think, and I'm glad for that. But let's cut to the chase. Is this the end of the road for Ravi?
I'm not sure. It's kind of the end of one chapter. It's the end of this trilogy, but I do have plans for another trilogy because none of the players have left the board by the end of the third book. There's still a lot of things that are going to happen in the future. And the way that I design the Ravi stories is that it comments on what's going on right now, so there's bound to be all kinds of things happening. My idea is that if I get to write more Ravi stories, it'll be maybe a year, maybe possibly two from now, because by then, one way or another, Trump is going to be over, Brexit is going to be over, and it'll be a different world that Ravi and his friends are operating in. But at the same time, certain things will stay the same. The way that people are horrible to each other, the same types of greed, corruption, and just bad shenanigans that basically people in what they like to call the deep state or whatever it is like to play around with, that Ravi keeps getting sucked into. So that's not going to change in his life anytime soon.
I like your certainty that Trump and Brexit will be over, but frankly, I'd like to see some proof before I buy in too much.
Well, Brexit is either going to be over or it doesn't happen at all. It's either going to happen, in which case it'll be over, or it doesn't happen at all, in which case it'll be over. With Trump, there are so many things happening that even if he wins another election, every single president that wins a second election ends up with a lame duck government anyway. So we're going to be seeing the same type of thing if Trump stays president. Yet at the same time, there are so many criminal charges being prepared against him. It's like, how is he going to get through this when he has standing indictments and try to remain in office? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, you can see the Trumpentia just keeps spreading and getting more pronounced.
Oh, dear.
We both sighed. That's about all we can do, right?
But that's gristful to mill. I mean, I wrote the second and third Ravi novels knowing full well that Trump and Brexit were in the background. And in my mind, the second and third novels were very much essentially Trump-era, Brexit-era novels, even though my editors and we agreed that we're not going to mention Trump, we're not going to mention Brexit explicitly because we don't want to date the books. We want it to feel like it could still be happening.
Right.
Even though, there are very specific topics and incidents that happen in the books. Like in the second one, Ravi's in Los Angeles and he and the mercenaries end up tangling with ICE agents, for example. So that was very much based on something that was happening in the headlines. So that's the type of thing that I like playing around with.
And my feeling it was like in the third book too, that the atmosphere, you can feel Trump and you can sort of feel Brexit around you. You can feel the chaos in the world that Ravi lives in, that even though Trump is not named or a presence, you can feel that it's a Trump-instigated chaos that's taking place.
Yeah, and if it wasn't Trump, it would still be a similar kind of chaos, but it would have a slightly different flavor, it would have slightly different nuances, but otherwise, chaos is chaos, and this type of chaos has been going around all the time. Trump is just a symptom of the type of chaos that's going around, so even with Trump gone, there's all going to be all kinds of things. Because, the agency that Ravi works for goes through a change at the end of book 3. And so if we get a books 4, 5, and 6, it's going to be a different flavor by the time all these guys come back.
So in past conversations, and I think all the way back to book 1, you kind of indicated you always saw this as a trilogy, and you kind of thought it would end, I think, with the 3rd book. And I'm wondering if there came a point where you thought, you know what, this is really fun, or I'm really enjoying this, or I'm really getting a handle on this. I don't want to end this. I want this to continue. Or
I did reach the point where I was thinking, there are so many other stories I could tell with Ravi and these guys. I could even set, a 1980s detective story about Roger and his partner, the co-founder of the agency back when she was a punk and extremely angry and violent and addicted to meth in the 1980s when they first became private investigators, when the 1980s were a weird dark time in England. And that could be a lot of fun to write as well. And so the idea of good fiction is that you want to create characters that you get to know them so well that you can do anything in them. You can just trap 2 of them in a closet and you could have an interesting story out of that. And I feel like I've reached that point with Ravi and his cast of characters.
Was there a certain passage, something you've written in maybe book 2 or book 3 that changed your perspective on going forward?
There are little things, like I planned all 3 books a while ago, but you discover new things as you're writing it, and they don't necessarily change the book, they just deepen it in certain ways. And during the course of the 3rd book, it was in the final third of the 3rd book that I suddenly thought, oh wow, I just discovered what the big overriding theme of book 3 is, because it has to do with Ravi's and his relationship with gods. Because in book 1, it's about Ravi denying the existence of the gods and thinking they're not real and that he's going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
In book 2, it's about Ravi starting to realize that maybe the gods might be real, that he might not be crazy after all. And at the back of my mind while I was writing book 3, I already knew the stories and where all this was going to go. But I never thought about what that theme was going to evolve into. But then while writing the final third of book 3, and the story continued exactly the way that I planned, but I suddenly thought, oh my god, the theme of the 3rd book is Ravi creates a new god.
Interesting.
That's the evolution.
Well, and I recall these conversations over time. In book 1, I remember, and I don't have any background with the gods. I mean, I just had no background, and I was a bit confused at times. I found it to be a really good PI novel without the gods. With them, I was confused. Book 2, I was starting to get it. It fit together a lot better for me, and I didn't know if that because I had already read 1 book and now I was reading the 2nd book that it made more sense, or if you were melding it that much better as a writer, or there was also a point in book 2 where Ravi finds out when he's in California that he's not the only one seeing these things.
Yeah, I actually planned for that to happen. A little bit of it happened towards the end of book 1, when suddenly he gets information from the gods that there is no way he could have gotten. And it's just a tiny throwaway bit in book 1, so I sort of planned for that. And there's a part of me that wondered whether or not I should have gone deeper into that before I ended book 1, but then I thought, I kind of like the confusion of book 1 where the reader becomes like Ravi, they share his point of view, which is the confusion of whether or not this is real and whether or not this has anything to do with what's going on at all. And there's also a slight change in the way that I wrote book 2, which is that in book 2 I was determined that book 2 should read and feel like a book, because a lot of people said that book 1 felt a bit like they were reading a TV show. And that had to do with the fact that development on the TV show had begun, and I was dealing with that while trying to write the book as well, and it seeped into my head that way. And so by the time book 2 came along, I just thought, I don't want to think about the TV show, I'm just going to let the TV people deal with that. This needs to be a book, it needs to feel like a book, it needs to read like a book. So I doubled down on the literary qualities of the book, which is much more on the inner voice of Ravi, much more on his observations, which is something that's easier to do in a book, and it becomes trickier to do it on a TV show or in a movie because that needs to be more visual. And from there, I started to just go towards the gods a bit more. Relationship with the gods, the conversations that the gods are trying to have with him, and the way he reacts to it. That was when I felt that he had gone to a point, and he had also had a crisis in book 2 that leads to the gods suddenly popping up in a way where other people in altered states of mind start seeing these gods as well. That makes him start to change his opinion or his feelings about whether or not the gods are real. And also him having to deal with, oh, if the gods are real, that means I'm not crazy after all. And the implications are actually much scarier than if I was just crazy.
Yeah, we should take a minute because I'm sure there'll be people who are watching this or listening to this who maybe have not read the first book or two and are wondering why we're talking about gods. Can you just take a minute and give a little background about where and how what gods we're talking about and how they kind of fit in to the general
the overall.
Yeah.
Well, the original idea was that Ravi was more or less a regular Londoner. And the idea is that, you know, who could be a more regular Londoner now than a British-born Indian man? And it went from here you have a regular Londoner who ends up working as a private eye. And then from there, it became more specific that this came out of my discussions with my producer, Leopoldo Gu. And he said, what if you had some kind of magical, realist, or supernatural element to give it another layer? And after all, I thought, well, I don't want him to see ghosts. I don't want him to be schizophrenic. And I gave him a background as a failed religious scholar and a former high school teacher. And then I thought, okay, he sees gods. He's Indian. He's Hindu, so he sees gods from the Hindu pantheon. And gods from the Hindu pantheon, they tend to represent different qualities of humanity in similar ways that Greek gods do, except that they're slightly different in a way that Hindu gods have more chances of redemption in their stories than Greek gods do, which is interesting. And for the most part, they're actually righteous, and they can be benevolent a lot of the times. And so that throws up a whole bunch of themes and ideas for me, which is him grappling with his conscience. He's in a job where he has to do a lot of bad things, often to bad people who may or may not deserve it. And he's not a sociopath, so he feels bad about doing bad things. So the more stress he gets, the more he starts seeing these gods. And these gods seem to be projections because they're not just gods in the traditional way. When they show up, they're like standing around, hanging out in the corner. They're wearing modern clothing along with the vestments and jewelry that gods wear with them and their multiple arms. And they also have cell phones.
Right, that's the best part, yep.
Like filming him. They're watching him as if he's their favorite new reality show. So he kind of resents that. But at the same time, that becomes an expression or a metaphor for his existential crisis, which is that, are you really in control of your own life and destiny? Are you really some kind of plaything here to entertain the gods who are just watching and laughing at you? And you turn that into a guy who's a private eye, who's often doing things he's very reluctant but has to do, and ends up in a lot of really weird situations involving politics and corruption and major social, geographical implications. And it just makes for an interesting kitty mix. So it's not just straight up thriller with politics and all that, even though those would be perfectly fun. And I might have had fun writing a book like that, but suddenly having the gods there, it makes it a lot spicier, if I may.
Has the number of gods increased from one book to the next to the next?
They increase by one by the third book, which is that a new god pops up at the beginning of the third book, which is that Julia, Ravi's girlfriend's late trans sister, pops up as a god because she's his girlfriend's god. She's his girlfriend's best friend, and so she becomes a kind of god of glamour, which doesn't quite exist in Hindu, and she's a kind of Western 21st century postmodern god of glamour. And in many ways, I wish I brought her in the second book, but then it didn't occur to me until I wrote the third book that, oh, she should be a god as well. She should enter that because she suddenly becomes an interesting addition to these gods because she's a different god, and she hangs out with these gods because she's a fellow god, And so she's incredibly extrovert, and she's glamorous, and she's fun. And so she hangs out with them, and she also plays hostess at the same time because she was a supermodel. So that's that kind of fun commentary and satire that I could introduce to it.
And she also has kind of a gender secret, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, she's trans.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. So she's about gender fluidity and non-binary because I always wanted the books to be pro-LGBTQ, and because you reflect the life as it is now, and London is very much progressive, gender non-binary LGBTQ, and I wanted to reflect that, and it's reflected when Ravi goes to New York or when he goes to LA at the same time. It's a much more interesting, chaotic, but not always chaotic in the terrible sense of the word. It's the good chaotic part of life.
Does her entering the picture as a god, does that create? Have you opened a door for yourself for future books to create other gods or introduce other gods that would not be in the traditional sense of the Hindu gods?
Yes. By the end of the third book, it kind of hints that newer gods already exist out there. It's similar to some of the things that Neil Gaiman is positing in American Gods, which is about how gods adapt and how human beliefs and preoccupations and obsessions create gods. And so Ravi is also kind of witnessing that at the same time because he's seeing all of this almost from the outside, whereas most people don't quite notice. And maybe some people might notice as well, but then they're not always people that he relies on or can trust. For example, Ariel, who's the amoral sociopathic mercenary who likes to mess with him. She would love to see the gods, and she's kind of an avatar of the gods, but she doesn't see the gods. So she's another interesting character who could spin off into her own weird stories as well, but I just haven't got around to doing that.
Well, I'm gonna come back to her in a few minutes. I wondered. Every book in the series has kind of a standout adventure, and in book 2, it was Ravi's Hollywood adventure, and this time it was this crazy night at this private sex club, which made my head spin. Not the sex so much, but just you could never tell what was real and what wasn't. There was so much going. I don't want to give away. Yeah, but I mean, but what I'm wondering is, and maybe I'm afraid to even ask, but where do you get your ideas for these parts of the book?
It's a whole bunch of ideas. That night in the mansion with the crazy sex party in the country, that was me deciding, okay, I'm writing an English mystery series. What's more English than some kind of whodunit or mystery or caper in an English mansion? Virtually Agatha Christie does that every time, or Dorothy Allison, all kinds of British mystery authors do that. But what if I introduce a twist to it? It's not a murder mystery. It's really about corruption and financial double-dealing and weird business deals and bribery, essentially, which is Ravi's boss wanting to bring these business partners in and to entertain them enough so that they would give him money into this major business venture that ends up blowing up in everybody's face that defines the rest of the book. And a lot of it is also class satire. You have Brexit going on. You have food banks in England because so many people are starving that they can't afford food and they have to depend on charity in England now. And you have these incredibly rich people who are the 1%, who just have their money and they can do anything they want, and they just want to make more money, they want to get more power, and they come into this mansion. And it's like, well, given that class commentary, why not talk to some of the 1%? That's the beauty of writing fiction, after all.
And how much do you need to experience for yourself in this type of adventure, and how much are you content to research on the internet?
Well, one doesn't want to say how much one actually has experienced this type of thing.
Okay.
I can say that I've known enough people who have experienced their share of this type of thing, and there are times when I've been on the periphery of this type of thing enough to see to make some observations, and then the rest you just read, like certain magazines and newspapers. You read enough of Vanity Fair or certain glamour magazines, and then you read between the lines and read under the surface and think about it for a little bit. and you start to paint an interesting picture. And since this is fiction, you don't need to worry about getting anything wrong. You're just making it up as it goes along, and as long as it feels authentic enough based on what you know about society and what makes people tick, then hopefully one gets away with that.
When I was thinking about talking to you today, I was thinking back to an interview I did with a novelist, actually same publisher, Atria. Is it Atria?
Atria.
Yeah. Richard Deutsch. He's done the books, The Thieves of, I think The Thieves of Macau, The Thieves of whatever, but it's The Thieves of something is the series, and I was very impressed by his description of what I think, and I didn't pull up the book, but I think it was the Istanbul Four Seasons, and I was telling him the detail was amazing. I said, did you go there and go through the halls? And he just laughed. He said, no. He said, I've never been there. I said, you're kidding. He said, no, but I found the plans for the hotel online, and so I knew where everything was. And I said, wow, okay.
Well, here's the dirty little secret of every good novelist now. You can research anything on the internet now. You don't even need to use Google. You can use DuckDuckGo if you don't want your logs to be kept.
I was stunned because, and I'd actually worked on a book for the founder of the Four Seasons. And I remember reading it going, oh my God, I wonder if he's seen this. This is amazing, and it's just one of those things. And so the other thing I'm wondering is, so this, I mean, there's been sex in all three books. You mentioned Ariel and Ravi and Julia, and there's always stuff going on. The two older British detectives are a gay couple. So there's always an undercurrent or outright sex in the books. What I'm wondering is, what is the limit for you in terms of how far out you can go? I mean, I'll give you an example while you think about that. I know, like, when my kid, I make my living as a writer. We've talked about this before. So, but most of mine is nonfiction. And I know when my kid was in middle school, I never wrote anything or interviewed anyone on the podcast here at the time that would cost me my job as a middle school girls soccer coach, because that was as important to me as anything else, and I didn't want to offend any parents. I didn't want any parents going to the school saying, do you know that he interviewed Miss September from Playboy? Blah, blah, So what I'm wondering is there an audience of one? Is there someone out there that you kind of, you think, okay, I don't want so-and-so to read this and be offended, or I don't want to set them off or have them upset with something I've written, or do you not have that self-censoring moment?
I have that, but I think every writer has their own self-censorship or self-limiting line. And in my case, when I'm writing about stories about adults, and I'm writing a crime story, a lot of crime and a lot of mystery and thrillers are driven by human sexuality, sexual desire, sexual corruption, and even sexual deviancy. And so you have to address that if you're looking at adult motivations for why they do things and how they do things. There's always this weird line about how one goes about writing sex scenes. And this is something that I've thought about, well, not that much, but I have thought about it, which is that, are you going to go all in and just write like a penthouse letter where you have explicit descriptions to the point where it feels more like a gynecology lesson? I mean, how many people actually want to read that? And there are people who do find that offensive, I acknowledge that. But so I tend to avoid overly explicit descriptions. For example, I'm not writing total X-rated clinical descriptions of sex acts. It's more than enough to just drop a hint here, or to have somebody make a gesture or something, or to have somebody make a remark, and if you're an adult, you know exactly what they're doing. And that's usually enough. You paint the biggest picture with the broadest strokes, and people will understand.
If you don't know what they're doing, you have the internet to go to find out.
Yeah, exactly. You have the internet to get your gynecology lessons. You don't need to read novels for that.
You indicated when we started talking that this probably is not the end of Ravi, that there, in some way or form, we will probably meet these characters again. But I wondered, when you were still thinking that this might be the end, if there is one character besides Ravi that you will most miss writing for.
I found myself getting quite fond of what's her name? The Hong Kong hacker heiress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she's a very specific character, and she's based on quite a few people I know that I mashed together, and and it's like she by the end of the book that's saying, are we looking at a supervillain in the making? Because she's somebody who comes from privilege. Her father owns a bank. She speaks at least 5 languages. She's highly educated. She has a genius IQ. She is also one of the most dangerous computer hackers in the world who's never been caught because nobody expects like a Chinese banking heiress to actually be a computer hacker. So everyone underestimates her, and she can move in so many circles. She can move practically anywhere, and I keep feeling like what else can be done with that character because she just does so many things that, and she's also incredibly posh. She speaks with this cut glass British BBC accent, and she has no patience for any fools whatsoever. That she's just hilarious fun to write whenever she opens her mouth.
You had mentioned Ariel before, and I was thinking, especially now that you've described that doing a book that's centered around Ariel and her, where they were knocking heads through the whole book,
Mm-hmm.
would be kind of interesting. Because yeah, I want to know more about Ariel. It just seems like we just get these fleeting glimpses, and she's kind of funny, and she's sexy, and she can handle weapons, and she can beat the crap out of someone. I want to know more about that woman.
Yeah, Ariel is one of those interesting accidents. She was originally just a throwaway character. She was just going to have a one-night stand with Robbie at the beginning of the first novel,
Hmm.
and she wasn't going to show up again. Except that she seemed quite interesting, and this comes down to Sandor Murphy, who's still attached to play Robbie, hopefully, whenever the TV show comes around. And he read the chapter and he said, she's really interesting and incredibly sexy. And I just thought, really? I didn't put that much effort into making her so interesting or charismatic or sexy. And so I suddenly ended up bringing her back and revealing who and what she really is, which is that she's a private military contractor. She's somebody who has a law degree. She's extremely smart. She's been through tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan. She's a sniper. She's a highly trained soldier. She's one of the most dangerous people on the planet. And she's a complete sociopath. She has no boundaries whatsoever. She's thoroughly amoral. She's a hedonist. And yet she's also really interested in spiritual growth and spirituality and religion. And Robbie likes to say that that's because she's a sociopath, which means she's broken and empty inside, and she's trying to fill all that stuff. But the interesting thing about Ariel is that she knows that, and she doesn't even care. She just does what she does when it's interesting. And you see her. You in all the books you have her making the throwaway remark that, "Oh, if I get bored, I'll just go find some fool and shoot him in the head on the job or something."
Right.
That type of thing. And I guess she's maybe one of those characters who seem to come from the id. And in many ways, it's like Villanelle on Killing Eve, who's like a complete psychopath. But then she's played with so much exuberance by Jodie Comer that people like her in spite of herself because she's having fun. And in the same way, Ariel is somebody who just has fun. If she's going to have more fun breaking a rule that she's supposed to follow, she'll break that rule as long as she gets a result. Who's going to complain? That's her attitude. And the funny thing about Ariel is that by the end of the third book, without spoiling too much, she ends up in a major position of power that scares Robbie even more than she already scared him in the past. So there's a lot more to do with her and the company that she works for.
Mm.
And I did think about what would it be like if I wrote a novel about Ariel and the PMC that she works for. And I started thinking, well, I love writing her, but do I really want to write a series of novels about the PMC? Because that would be a much darker, much more violent, much more unpleasant story than the types of things Robbie gets up to, since Ariel hints at the horrible stuff that she gets up to on jobs. And they would be so much darker and much more nasty and even more morally dubious and ambivalent than even the Robbie stories are.
You're right, making the connection to Killing Eve. She is exactly like her. There's so much similarity there. I would almost start to think, I wonder if, no, I don't want to say anybody stole from you, uh,
No, I think
but there's a lot of similarity there.
stories had already been written or were being written around the time that, by the time I was writing Ravi. And I can see the differences between Villanelle and Ariel, which is that Villanelle is a fairly specific character. Villanelle is a psychopath. And so she's actually a pretty good character study of a psychopath on the show, which is that psychopaths are people who don't really have a lot of empathy, and they're born that way. That's the problem. They don't have a lot of empathy. They're also driven by boredom and the need for constant stimulation, which is why Villanelle likes taking risks all the time and provoking everybody, because that's how she gets her rocks off. Otherwise, she'd be utterly bored. Ariel is different in the sense that Ariel is a sociopath. Ariel knows the difference between right and wrong, which psychopaths don't. The thing about psychopaths is that they don't care about the difference between right and wrong. It's just about what they can and should do to achieve whatever they want. They know about what they're doing. They know the consequences, but they've made the calculation that, I don't care. I'm just going to do this for whatever reason that I will justify. And Ariel is also educated. She has a law degree. I think that's been mentioned, which is how she can pose as somebody who works in a bank or somebody who works for a law firm. It's also one of the reasons she manages to achieve that position of power that she ends up at the end of the third novel.
But in the same way that Ariel likes to play with Julia and Ravi, Villanelle likes to play with Eve and almost anybody, really. She's like the whole cat and mouse thing. She's definitely like a cat playing with the mouse before she kills it. She likes to get as much playtime in as she can.
Yeah, she does. She is in love with Ravi and she's in love with Julia. And then Ravi is the first to say, "Oh, she must. She does love us in her own way. But then, if she feels she needs to, she won't hesitate to shoot us in the head and move on to her next BFS."
Right. Right. All right. So, just a couple last questions. I want to change gears a little bit on you, and I wondered why did you become a writer? Was there, what influenced you? Was it something that you read? Was there someone who saw something you had written at some point and encouraged you? What's the story there?
It's a whole confluence of things. When I was a kid, my older sister, who wanted to be a writer, she was an avid reader and she watched movies and TV shows and she would talk about it to us all the time. And that sort of made us interested and made me interested in thinking about stories and telling stories. I was already reading books and plays and comic books. And in English class in school, my English, where we wrote compositions, they asked us to write stories. So I would write these stories that were quite often pretty outrageous. And my English teacher liked it. And so she encouraged them. I was a straight A student. And I was taking drama class where we did improv. And the teacher liked the stuff I was doing as well because I would come up with scenarios all the time. And so that kind of pushed me towards wanting to be a writer. I wasn't expecting to write prose. I always thought, prose are books, and they're always considered the pinnacle, the peak to climb. And I thought I was maybe going to do comic books, and I might write plays because plays are great because I'm a drama nerd, and plays are also a lot of fun to write. Screenplays are a lot of fun to write. I moved on to screenplays because when you're writing a script, you're writing in the present tense. You're basically creating things in action in real time, whereas when you write prose in books, most of the time you write in the past tense, which is almost like you're telling a story of something that's already happened. So in a way, I still feel like I enjoy writing scripts more than I write prose, but then I use the discipline that I learned from writing scripts, of structuring a story, of pacing a story, and I brought that to writing the Ravi book so that I knew when to stop the scene before it got too long or too boring. I hopefully knew when people should stop talking without saying too much and without saying too many things that are redundant. That's something I learned from playwriting and dialogue writing. And so it starts making me think, at the end of the day, it's still storytelling. It's just storytelling. It's just a slightly different medium. And there are so many things happening in the world, and there are so many interesting types of people in the world that you can create interesting people and tell their stories. And that's what keeps me going as a writer. There's no end to whatever you can come up with. I mean, they like to say, write what you know. And a lot of people might write only what they know, which means that they run out of stories to tell. Well, it's not that you write what you know, it's what you write what you want to know. It gives you an excuse to go out and do research, to learn about new things, to learn about new types of people, new places, new situations. So it's this is the coolest job in the world. You tell stories, you get more things to do. I mean, there are at least one or two possible cases that I thought about writing for book 3, but I didn't have room for it. I actually had a whole scenario about digital currency and mining and blockchain that I wanted to write as a commentary on all of that. But then we got to the point where Bitcoin hit its peak, and then I thought Bitcoin is going to lose its value now. It's no longer viable as an alternative property. So I'm not going to write about digital currency because digital currency isn't as big as everyone thought it was going to be. It's become an investment commodity the same way that gold or something else is. Blockchain, however, is interesting because no one still understands truly what blockchain is. And people think it's really secure, but at the same time, blockchains are still kind of flawed. And so there's actually a really interesting story I can write with Ravi about people using blockchain and how you can hack or corrupt a blockchain, which has already happened in real life that people haven't really talked about that much. So I was thinking, well, this could be an episode in the TV show if and when that happens, or I'll just do it in the new book if and when I get to write the new trilogy where they deal with blockchain security and publicity over blockchain. Like, for instance, and it's not much of a spoiler, I haven't written that story yet, that story doesn't exist. The thing about blockchain, and not everyone totally understands it, is that it's a digital ledger. It's like a record of every transaction that everyone who possesses it has. And so the moment you introduce new information to the blockchain, it will be in everyone's account on the blockchain. Everyone has the same information. So that's how they claim that blockchain can be secure. Now, how do you compromise or pollute a blockchain? And that has happened in real life, which is that they found child porn in certain blockchains. Or rather, they might find the types of code that's in child porn. It's not necessarily the actual images, but certain code that identifies it as child porn. That's how, say, the authorities and the federal and the FBI identify it as child porn. Now, once you put it in the blockchain, it never leaves. And nobody has challenged it legally yet. But what if you were to go to the people who possess the blockchain and say, hey, you're now in possession of child pornography, and that is a federal crime. Do you really want to hang on to that blockchain? That is how you kill a blockchain, and that's an act of social engineering. You didn't have to hack into it. All you have to do is whisper in the ears of enough people and scare them.
Okay.
And so, again, that's human nature, and that's something that I wanted to explore in Ravi.
All right, so we've talked quite a bit. We've ping-ponged around a little bit. Do you know what's next after this third book of Ravi? Do you have something in the pipeline? Are you working on something you want to talk about?
Well, I'm working on several things. I have one story that's really gotten a hold of me that I keep writing. I actually wrote a script for it quickly so that I would have the opening of the story, and I started to translate it into prose. And it's a different type of thing this time. The characters are American. The main character is a Chinese-American woman who grew up in New York's Chinatown. And she just wants an ordinary life being a real estate lawyer, except that she can see ghosts. And it's about how she kind of becomes an urban legend because once people get a wind of her, they come to her when they have problems with ghosts and hauntings and possessions, which is the last thing she wants to deal with. And it becomes a way of exploring New York, and it's also a way of exploring cultural identity and being in more than one world at the same time and trying to figure out which world you really belong to. And so that's something that I'm having a lot of fun with, that I'm hoping that I get to write as my next book when I'm not being distracted by other professional work that I'm dealing with, like script writing for an animation company and a couple of other things that I'm helping out with, like writing articles for Bleeding Cool.
Cool. Yeah, we should mention you're still writing for Bleeding Cool. People can find you
still writing
on
for
the
Bleeding
site.
Cool.
Yep. Very cool. All right. Well, folks, listen. You can find all 3 of Adi Tantimedh's Ravi PI novels, including the latest, Her Fugitive Heart, in great stores everywhere, or you can order it right now at a great price at MrMedia.com. As always, if you are watching or listening on MrMedia.com, below the video, below the audio player, you'll see the cover to the latest Ravi PI novel. Click on it. You can order it as a paperback or I guess a hardcover from Amazon, or you can download it as an ebook. Either way, just click on the book cover. It'll take you to it. Is there a website you want to send people to?
Not really. I try not to keep on social media that much. I have a Twitter feed, which is Look at Moves. It's mostly me being sarcastic or saying snarky things about pop culture, or posting links to my articles on Bleeding Cool, where I'm, say, talking about Cowboy Bebop's casting, or where I'm talking about movies from China, or where I suddenly remark that the second season of Fleabag is actually a remake of a Jean-Pierre Melville movie from 1961 about an atheist woman who's trying to seduce a Catholic priest played by Jean-Paul Belmondo, for example. So you can find me at Look at Moves on Twitter, and you can find my articles on Bleeding Cool when they get posted.
I'm going to help you with this, though. For people who heard the Twitter address and didn't quite get it, it's like, look, it moves!
Hurrah!
Hurrah! So, all right. Well, Adi Tantimedh, it is always a pleasure to see you. You know, you always are welcome back here, and thank you again for joining us today on Mr. Media.
Thanks, Bob.
Turn your back on the deceiver. It's a bad idea to believe her. A bad idea to believe her. Turn up the stereo receiver. Turn up the stereo receiver.